Hello, and welcome to Town Hall 2025. I'm your moderator, Daniel Crow. The original Town Hall was hosted by Jack Faust, a true giant of Oregon history from 1980 until 1993. Town Hall was a weekly public affairs program on Channel 2, featuring discussions, often contentious, between public officials, experts, and everyday Oregonians on topics that range from the serious, like child abuse, to the somewhat less so, like Bigfoot. Halfway through his run, Jack even had on a young 16-year-old from Mount Angel on his way to West Point. Yours truly. With Jack's blessing, it is my great honor and solemn responsibility to carry on the baton that Jack carried so well. Our goal here is to revive that spirit of robust, peaceable public debate, which has always characterized our Oregon way. Together, I think that we can do some good for all of our people. And we began with Series 1, the race for Oregon Republican Party Chair 2025. Soon to come, Series 2, the race for Oregon Democratic Party Chair 2025. If you, our audience, decide that talking with one another rather than past one another is preferable, well, maybe we'll be getting to know each other a little bit better. Welcome to Town Hall 2025, Series 1, the race for Oregon Republican Party Chair. I'm your host, Daniel Crow, and before we begin, I'd like to lay out the ground rules. We begin with two special series. Series 1, the race for Oregon Republican Party Chair 2025, and Series 2, the race for Oregon Democratic Party Chair 2025. Since Oregon Republicans will choose their leader first, on February 22nd, we will begin with them. Oregon Democrats will choose their leader on March 12th. For Series 1, we have invited all 7 declared candidates for Oregon Republican Party Chair to appear on our program. In alphabetical order, candidates Gabriel Bueller, Jerry Cummings, Ben Edel, current Oregon Republican Party Chair Justin Hwang, Joe Ray Perkins, and Angelita Sanchez have accepted, and we will be recording an episode for each of them. Candidate Richard Jolly did not respond to our invitation. When we sent out the invitations, every candidate was given this preface and a list of the 3 subject areas that we intend to cover: your executive experience, Oregon culture and political history, and the role of the Oregon Republican Party going forward. None of the candidates were provided the questions we intend to ask, but we encouraged all of them to carefully review the Oregon Republican Party bylaws and platform, as we intend to explore those areas with some specificity, but they don't need to memorize it. My role on this program is to act as moderator, not judge. I am not here to pick either the Republican or the Democratic Party chair. Therefore, anything which you, our viewers, might interpret as a personal opinion on my part should be disregarded. With the possible exception of my 81-year-old mom, still living in Mount Angel, who cares about my opinion anyway. Each candidate is a guest, and this is Oregon. Therefore, each guest will be treated with compassion, dignity, and respect. But these men and women are campaigning for a position of public responsibility. Therefore, my questions are designed to be neither easy nor comfortable to answer. To keep us honest, we will invite a well-respected county chair from the party we are interviewing for each series. In Series 1, the race for Oregon Republican Party Chair, we are joined by Baker County Republican Party Chair Danny Johnson, who will act as referee. He is uncommitted to any particular candidate, which is important. For Series 2, the race for Oregon Democratic Party Chair, our referee will be an uncommitted and universally respected county chair from the Oregon Democratic Party to ensure that every candidate is treated fairly yet firmly. Each candidate guest has 3 challenge flags that they can throw at any point during our discussion if they feel they need more time to answer a question or if they feel my question is unfair in any way. If a candidate wants to use his or her challenge flag, they will state their objection, and Chair Johnson in this series will rule on it. In each series, the referee's ruling will be final. In Series 1, Chair Johnson will follow up with his own questions after each of our 3 subject areas. His job is to explore areas which he believes are relevant to understanding each candidate as a potential future state chair. Since the county chairs actually have to work alongside their state party chair, I am interested in what the county chairs think are important. I also want to note that our referees have complete discretion to ask whatever they want, but I've reminded each of them that they are speaking for all of their fellow county chairs. If you, our audience, find this longer format discussion worthwhile, we intend to move forward with subsequent series on all of Oregon's political parties, major and minor. Each party will provide a well-respected, uncommitted county chair from their own party to help us ensure that our conversations are substantial and informative. Later this summer, we intend to branch out to address issues that Oregonians and Friends of Oregon care about: public health, education, abortion, gun rights, governmental power, the growing urban-rural divide, land use planning, and so on. As I mentioned in our pre-tape intro, our goal here is to revive that spirit of robust, peaceable public debate, which has always characterized our Oregon way. Oregonians don't find shouting persuasive, and I believe that our people are starving for substantive, grown-up conversations about matters which impact us all, because I believe in self-government, and I believe in you. A good man, former Montana Attorney General Tim Fox, once taught me that why we even have politics. Quote, "Politics exists so that we can live in peace alongside those with whom we will never agree." Close quote. As a career professional soldier, I can assure you that civil wars are far easier to start than they are to stop. So let's keep talking, Oregon. We're joined for this episode by current Oregon Republican Party Chair Justin Hwang. I would note, first of all, welcome Chair Hwang to our program. I would note that you are obviously dialing in from the road, and we appreciate you making time for this, our final episode of this series. It is Friday, February 14th. There are 8 days before the election, and so we're very glad that you were able to join us during your busy schedule of traveling around. And I think there was quite a bit of snow in Portland last night, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was. It was. I thought I was able to make back to my office on time so that I can have a better setting to participate in your interview. But I was going like maybe 5 to 10 miles an hour, so just decided to like stop at the middle of the road because this is something I never wanted to miss um, of my today because I got the invitation, I committed, and that's why I ended up being at the middle of the road.
Well, our referee chair, Danny Johnson, is up in the Pine Valley in Baker County, and apparently he got 8 inches of snow last night. So, what is a lot of snow in the valley is not always a lot of snow to people on the east side. But before we begin we're going to begin with section one, your executive experience. And before we begin with my questions and answers, though, I'd like to give you, Chair Hwang, an opportunity to introduce yourself and tell us why you are running for Oregon Republican Party chair.
Well, I'll make it long story short. The one of the biggest reason I first um, ran for vice chair and continue to be a chair at this moment was I wanted to make sure my previous experience of being a candidate or being the part of the Oregon politics. I just wanted to use my experience and volunteers in the organizations to make our organization better. And when I ran for a second term, I mean, it's almost like first term because my chairman resigned and I became a chair. And the next one I ran just because I saw there was a lot of disconnections between the caucus and between the national level of politics, like RNC, NRCC, RCLC. There's so many other Republican national organization was disconnected from ORP. So for past 2 3 years, I was simply focusing on repairing those type of relationship, and which our vice chair Angela has been very helpful for helping me on the side for the state politics. So I finally fully repaired those abandoned relationship between the caucus, between those national politics. And it is now, I feel like it is now time for me to come back to state and then use those relationships, use these connections to make our organization better. I think even the 2 to 3 years being a chair, I don't think that's enough because it was all more of my learning curve. As a lot of people know, my previous chair just resigned out of the blue, so I had no guidance or nobody taught me how to be a good chair. And it took me a year or a good 2 years, and now I am ready. And now I feel like I can actually do things I have self-taught, and I just need more time. And next 2 years, and I'll show people that what I actually has been doing for the past 2 years, and people see the result.
Thank you, Justin. Did you grow up here in Oregon or did you come to Oregon?
I came to Oregon. I spent most of my time in Pacific Northwest, which is me and my parents immigrated to LA and graduated my middle school there and moved to high school. Moved to Seattle for my high school and moved to Oregon back in 2004, I believe, 2005. Yeah, I'm 40 now, and time flies.
And what drew you to Oregon?
Pardon me?
What drew you to Oregon?
I think Oregon has unique opportunities, and at that moment, and still, there is a lot of opportunities for the business.
Mhm.
It's more less competition than California, less competition than Seattle, and it's just full of opportunities. And um, as me being an immigrant, we would just always drive to see the opportunities of where we can fit in the community. And I thought, and I'm still thinking, the Oregon is a place where full with opportunities and welcomes a lot of every people. So that's why we choose to be the Oregonian.
From the outside, each political party can look like a monolith, but anyone who has spent time in politics knows that political parties are comprised of constantly shifting coalitions which organize around what they believe are the most urgent issues facing the people they serve. How would you describe the current Oregon Republican coalition today?
Well, there's quite a few. I think it's not much of the issues, but Oregon Republican Party, I think there's a lot of trust issues. Uh, and then trust issues, and it's more of like uh, the parties are divided still. I always talk about, and when I first ran, I'm more for all about the unity. I'll get the parties all together. But at the same time, I have learned myself, it is very hard to regain the trust and then getting the party unity because just for the example, I might not be a chair next week, which I have put a lot of effort to gain those trust and getting parties together. But if the new chair comes, they need to start from the bottom, which they need to start another 2 years to gain those trust and gain those unity back. So I think that's the biggest problem for the party. And at the same time, we're always saying like, oh, we're going to win. We're going to have a red wave, right? But at the same time, the reality, we're getting there, but we're not there because I think that's another trust issue with us with the state caucus too, because you know I believe that, but our Republican members are, what they're going to do us, right? So my take to make those kind of solution is we just need to trust each other, not just like bashing other people's with their failure. So that's just my take. I wish I can talk about more of issues that Oregonians is dealing with, or what I'm saying is right now is all about the ORP.
From 1859 to 1985, Oregon Republicans dominated Oregon politics. Since 1986, not so much. From your perspective, what changed?
I think it takes we have a lot of movements from California. I think there's a lot of Democrats from California start moving to Oregon, and so I think the Oregon is more the like rest stops for Democrats.
Mhm.
Basically, they move from California to Oregon, stay in the Portland or stays like somewhere metro area, and spend their time for a couple of years, and then move to Idaho or Washington, any other blue state. So I think that kind of affects a lot of Democratic voter registrations. I mean, when you look at the map, um, well, I'm fully disagree with California political ideology with the voters, like their voters. but they're bringing their political ideology and ideas back to Portland, spreading those kind of political ideology, which is like full political liberal agenda. And it is our um, well, it is our duty and it is our job to educate those Democrats who's moving here and try to change their minds, but they always move away. It's one of the new generations going to college and early 20s who just spend the 2 years and leave, go to somewhere else. So I think that is one of the biggest reasons we're getting more um, Democratic voters moving over here.
What is your plan to return Oregon Republicanism to relevance?
Well, there's quite a lot of things. We have. Oh, would you repeat the question again, please? Sorry, I got a little bit distracted
Sure.
by that. Yeah.
What is your plan to return Oregon Republicanism to relevance?
I think we need to definitely focus on younger generation. We call it MG generations. Uh, they're not very much educated in real political knowledge, just because they're swayed by those school teachers who's one-sided minded, very lefty, and we need to definitely have some kind of programs to help our MZ generations. And I am really seriously thinking about extending our training program to which Angela has been doing for every year. But we should definitely expand those kind of training programs to reach our younger generations. I think that's the beginning. To just teach them with the right informations.
And I note that you referred to Angela and you'd referred to Angela in your introduction. And I assume that you're referring to the current Oregon Republican Party Vice Chair, Angela Plowhead.
Yes.
Okay. Just for the benefit of our audience, they might not know who all the officers, the current officers of the Oregon Republican Party are. Um, Privately, many Oregon elected officials of all parties consider the activist base of their particular party to be dumping grounds for malcontents and out of touch ideologues. How has your experience equipped you to herd these cats?
Would you repeat the question again? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Privately, many Oregon elected officials of all political parties consider the activist base of their political party to be dumping grounds for malcontents and out of touch ideologues. How has your experience equipped you to herd those cats?
I mean, we need activists for every. I mean, it's just my personal thinking opinions and saying it loud. We need activists to market our platform and then to market our belief. And I see like a couple of the counties is more the activist, and some of the caucus member probably doesn't like that just because they would just don't want to be part of those kind of with this kind of activist people. But my take is, uh, like actually having an activist is more like we have our own army because I think the ORP is more of the like marketing company. Like we're just running between the bridge of voters and the caucus and the candidates. And those activists will be helpful to market our candidates and our belief. So I have no disagreements about having activists.
What do you believe is possible for the Oregon Republican Party chair to achieve? And how will we be able to measure whether your tenure, if you are reelected, is a success or a failure?
Uh, I think next 2 years is going to be very exciting moment for new chair, I believe, just because I think there's going to be a new financing rules is not going to place, which one of the biggest problem we had for past decades and more as a party, we were having a hard time to raise money just because we didn't have any contribution limits. So a lot of lobbyists or a lot of independent donors has that they didn't have to go to the party to make a contribution to the candidates. So, but when that new when there's a limit with contribution limits, they have to go internally through the OIP or the any of the state party to contribute more to their candidates. So I think um, we're going to raise a lot more money with that new contribution limits, and which that means we can put a lot of um, program into place and financially backed. So fundraising is a big part of or any of the organization success, which I have focused on the federally raising money. I think we raise. I mean, I have to give you an exact number because I'm sure if I miss by one digit, I probably gonna get a lot of emails. So I'm sure we raised more than $3 million in the first year of me being chair. So I think the fundraising is gonna take a big part of the success for next 10 years. So then without the money, we can do any other program, but they need to use those time when the contribution limit is in the place.
Now, you had alluded previously to the fact that you had become you were elected as the vice chair, I believe, and then you alluded to the chair resigning, and I believe that you're referring to former Oregon Republican Party Chair Herman Bartscheiger, who resigned as chair, making you the from vice chair to chair, and indeed. Former state senator and commissioner Bart Scheiger had been the vice chair, who had been elevated himself to chair when former Oregon Republican Party chair Dallas Hurd had resigned, thereby making the vice chair chair. Then you get elected as vice chair, then you become chair. So there's been a lot of tumult in the Oregon Republican Party chair ranks over the last 3 to 5 years, and I think that we had at a certain point we Oregonians observed that the Oregon Republican Party had, I believe, 3 chairs in the space of about 12 months. Um, what caused all of that tumult from your perspective? And what is your plan to stabilize this position? And how have you done it up to this point, if you believe that you have?
Um, I think one of the biggest reason that we had those changes within 2 years was I kind of feel why they had to make the decisions just because I have lost half of my friends just as soon as I became a chair. And the popularity of being a chair, I mean, my first year, um, like was great, but as soon as you're starting to disagree with some of your colleagues, and they start to not liking your decisions and trying to push you away, and that is a lot of stress as being a leader. But at the same, just because they're the human being too, and I'm a human being, losing a friend by the disagreement is very sad. So I think that's one of the biggest reasons they decided to not to do it, just because they had to have a family and they've been losing a lot of friends just because of this disagreements. Um, and I have not talked to Herman and Dell's heard about why they had to do it, but that's how I felt, because as soon as you become a son in position, half of your friends is gonna be turning their back. And so, but I think to solve those kind of problem, of course, being a leader, you have to be a thicker skin. You need to have be a stronger, to be a decision maker, to not to look back, not to sway by your leadership. Of course, you the reason to you have a leadership is getting the opinion, but the new chair has to not to be swayed by the leadership. You should be by swayed the body and the people. That's my 2 cents.
Going, considering the next term, just to return back to our previous question when I'd asked you about what the Oregon Republican Party chair is capable of accomplishing, and how will we measure success or failure? I'd like to return to that question. What would success and what would failure look like for you as a chair if you are reelected? And
So
I'm
could you
happy to
repeat the question?
restate that. I can restate that question. So
Yeah.
I'd asked you previously about to just in my question on describing what the Oregon Republican Party chair can accomplish. Then I'd asked you about what success or failure would be. So I'd like to return to that question and ask you more specifically, what would success and what would failure for you look like as chair if you are reelected? How will we know whether you did a good job or didn't do a good job?
So I hear this from a lot of people in ORP just because I've been shy about and talking about. I've been shy about talking about what I have done for past few years. I think that's just my cultural thing that like I just don't tell people what I have done. I just do it. And we made a lot of movements, a lot of steps ahead with all this making a relationship and making our organ visible nationally. So I think we did well on that part. And start from there, if I end up being a new chair, my job is giving our people more motivation, me by telling them what I have been doing and giving them more um, weekly updates or monthly update, what is actually going on with the chairman Hwang, which is like including like communications is the key, which I was a little bit of I didn't have that much of communications about what I haven't been doing, but there's something I should fix myself to change to be the person having our ORP colleagues to know what is actually going on. I think that was the missing part. And to be success video chair, better communication. To the failure, not having a communication. I think that's the thing I would like to improve.
Okay. Last thing I'd like to ask you about, last area I'd like to explore. You had referred previously to the fact that there are no campaign contribution limits in Oregon, and therefore that's made it difficult to fundraise. Uh, so that does sound, for our audience, that might sound a little bit odd. The fact that there's no limits has made it difficult for you to raise money. So if you could please clarify what you mean by the fact that the old fundraising paradigm that before the Oregon law was changed in the most recent election allowed for limitless contributions, and that we're now changing over a new paradigm. And then I'm going to ask you a few follow-up questions about that. So what exactly did you mean by saying that the lack of limits on contributions has made it difficult for the Oregon Republican Party and the chair to fundraise?
Yeah, so I think there's two components to about the fundraising parts in the Oregon, which is there's so currently there's no contribution limits, which um you can donate to the person like $10,000 or $20,000, $50,000, which that means they can just simply go to the caucus or they can just simply go to the candidate they like, donate however they want, like $80,000, $100,000, since there's no limit. And just for the example, I think Washington State's contribution limit is about $2,000, but they need more than $2,000 for candidates or the lobby. So they need to invest or make a contribution back to the state party and taking some of the percentage so then the party can make uh, no limit contribution to the candidate they support. So there's kind of like dynamics going there, but I can have more full explanation in the writing as well, just because this is the moment I've been waiting for past 3 years. And at the same time, I mean, Daniel, you have been in the politics like more than enough of your life, right? And there's very limited donors that every candidate's going to the same pot. And I am same too. I'm going to the same pot. So that is most difficulties I've been having. Just going to the same person, and they get a call from the caucus. They get a call from many other power players, and including me too. So my take was, you know what? I'm just gonna go outside of state and fundraising. That was my part. So, but if there's going to be a contribution limit, I think there should not be any problems. So.
So it's your contention that, just to provide context for our audience, that in states with more strict campaign contribution limits, money tends to find its way to candidates through the party apparatus. Whereas in a state like Oregon, which up until January of 2027 is going to have unlimited campaign contributions, and that's been the paradigm for the last 20 years or so.
Right.
That is going to change the relationship between the party and the individual candidates that run under the banner of the party. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And then they will give a party a little bit more power to be part of the programs with the caucus and everyone.
Okay. And the recent change, just to close the loop on this, the recent change that Oregon voters voted in to allow campaign contribution limits has now been operationalized by the legislature, and campaign contribution limits that are basically equivalent to the limits that under which federal candidates operate is going to take place in January of 2027. That's when the new law goes into effect. And so between now, in this upcoming 2026 election cycle, the rules should be the same. Do you anticipate a change in the fundraising environment, or do you think the change is going to only occur after January of 2027 when the new law goes into effect?
Of course, I think if there's a new logos comes in, of course we're gonna have a better environment to fundraising. But for next 2 or 3 years, well, there not be a very much of changes about those kind of new logos. But actually, every midterm we have not been good at fundraising. Every midterms, historically, when I look at the number, and that is the moment where we have to fundraising outside the state and then building relationship in the state donors, which I have built for past 3 years. It is actually looking great to for next 2 years that I think I can utilize those lot of connections in state and outside state. So I'm not really worried, but at the same time, by 2027, we can do a lot better.
Okay. That ends the questions that I have for section one, your executive experience. Now, as we talked about in the introduction, I'd like to hand the floor over to Chair Danny Johnson of the Baker County Republican Party to ask any follow-up questions which occur to him. Chair Johnson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Daniel. Good afternoon, Justin. It's nice to see you again.
Thank you, Daniel.
In regard to your comments about communication, over the past 2 years, since your election, what opportunities have you had or experienced to reach out to county central committees to meet PCPs throughout the state?
So my very first year, I had very active. I don't know if you are aware. My first maybe 6 months or 6 or 8 months, I try my best to talk to PCPs and talk to a lot of counties. And after I realized, I mean, I was by myself for until the election, the whole election was over. After I didn't have a vice chair, I was all by myself. So it took me, it kept me really busy for during those time. And at the same time, I realized what was the real problem with the state party, which I talked to our vice chair when Angela gets elected. I'll be focusing on rebuilding those relationship between the caucus and between the relationship with the national levels, which I feel like I'll admit it that was not very much of the communications with different counties, just because I was telling you earlier, and a lot of people has wondering about what I have done as a chair. And I think the only problem I had was just not told our PCPs or the counties about what I haven't done. But I have no regrets about what I have done for past 2 3 years, and I can probably can share my 3 years of life of a chairmanship, and which I'm going to fix that when I become a new chairman again. but I have no regrets, even though I'm not become a chair, and because it was my fault that I didn't share about what I have done. And I do get it. If I have a boss that just didn't show up for work, I'll probably got to start worrying about it. So I do understand what some of the PCP or some of the colleagues' concerns, but I'll definitely fix that problem.
Thank you. In regard to the delegates that will be attending the conference for the ORP on February 22nd of this year,
Mhm.
what do you think is the biggest challenge for these delegates when they come into a venue that they've never experienced before, and are trying to sort through the not only the schedules, all the personalities they're going to meet. When it comes to voting in that, what do you think the biggest challenge is for them?
Now, of course, the weather, right? Transportations, and it might be a little too far for a lot of counties. But at the same time, I get a few calls regarding about having a SCC meeting in middle of the Multnomah County. They're concerned about safety. They're concerned about many different things, I believe. But I feel like when I look at the book, when we never had any of those big events in Portland before, I believe. Even I mean, within my knowledge, tell me if I'm wrong. But just because there's and as I understand why, and they're saying they're just full of Democrats and full of liberals, and it's too dangerous for us to having those kind of party there. I was like, okay, well, this is our country and this is our town. Like, why not? We're not scared of the Democrats or the liberals. Let's just do it. And I'll make sure the safety is if the safety is concerned, I talk to my buddy who owns that hotel. He's gonna have a full security goes around it and making sure we have a best experience that ever happened. So yeah, I just wanted to show the Democrats just say what's up.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Daniel?
Thank you, Chair Johnson. So now, Chair Hwang, we would like to move to section 2 of our questions, Oregon culture and political history. So we begin with Oregon culture and also political history, obviously. When did Oregon enter the Union?
When did Oregon enter the Union?
Yes, sir.
You're not talking about Oregon's birthday, so I have no answer for that.
So 1859, and in fact, today is February 14th, so we're celebrating our anniversary of
Yeah,
coming
so
into the Union. Yep.
oh yeah, so 1859, yeah, which is the birthday, yeah.
From April 12th of 1861 to May 26th of 1865, what nationally significant event occurred? 1861 to 1865.
1861 to 18, right?
65. Yes, right after Oregon entered the Union.
I have no answer for that too.
The American Civil War is the answer. So, what party
Oh,
was founded to abolish slavery?
Republicans?
Yes. Well, and actually, I skipped one question there. From your perspective, what was the Civil War about?
It's all about the freedom, right?
Okay. Who was the Republican Party's first president?
Abraham Lincoln?
And why, in your opinion, if at all, was Oregon's entry into the Union on the eve of the Civil War significant?
Pardon me?
Why, if for any reason, why, if at all, was Oregon's entry into the Union on the eve of the Civil War significant?
I think that's something I need to think about it. I think that's kind of free questions.
Okay, that's no problem. Chair Hwang, what is the idea of Oregon to you?
Oh, for what example? Was
Well, just
like
in whatever way you want to answer it, the idea of Oregon.
the idea of Oregon. I mean, I feel like Oregon has a full of opportunity for a lot of different people, and for the immigrant as well, and especially for the younger generations, just because it's a full of opportunity. with the land. So the idea of the Oregon is like it's opportunity. So the people has to realize and people has to utilize to use this type of opportunities. I think that's the idea of the Oregon. It's not swayed by California. It's not swayed by Washington. We are just very unique state with a full of opportunity.
Do you believe that Oregon, and particularly Oregon government, is fully honoring the idea of Oregon these days?
I believe not.
And why not?
I think it's dictated by one side party politics, and there is a lack of understanding other people in the Oregon, just because they didn't have to ask other people in the other side of the world, other side of the line. So it has been dictated by that way for just 2 decades or maybe more. And that's why the Oregon has not been changing and has not been fixing any of the problem. That's why the Oregon state government is not honoring our Oregonians. That's my answer.
In 2008, Nate Silver published an analysis of Oregon political affiliation in which he found that Oregon Republicans are the most conservative Republicans in the nation, and Oregon Democrats are the most liberal Democrats in the nation. What implications, if any, do you believe this has for the future of Oregon?
That is very difficult question, honestly, right? We need to have those type base, and then but I think I don't know if I'm understanding your question right, but you're saying like are you saying a far left and far right? Is that correct?
Well, that's at least what Nate Silver's 2008 analysis of Oregon political affiliation revealed. And so the question is, if the Republican Party is dominated by the most conservative Republicans and the Democratic Party is dominated by the most liberal Democrats, what implications, if any, does that have for the future of Oregon in your eyes?
In my eyes, I'm consider myself I'm very conservative. Okay. But at the same time, you gotta be just to be conservative enough. If you're far right, you're far left, with the balance, without the balance, right? I think that makes a lot of difference. So I don't think that's going to be hurt the politics, because we are experiencing very far left politics in Oregon for past 2 decades. So it's time for us to change that way. It's time to change to have our Republican value and Republican platforms in the place in the Oregon politics.
And you'd noted this before, and so I'd like to ask a follow-up question specifically on this premise. So I think I know what the first answer to your question is, but this is just the next question in order. Do you believe that Oregon is experiencing a crisis in public trust? And if so, why?
Could you repeat the question again, please? Sorry.
Sure. Do you believe that Oregon is experiencing a crisis in public trust? And if yes, if you believe that Oregon is experiencing a crisis in public trust, why?
So the public trust, you mean like the trust to the government? Is that what you're saying?
Just public confidence in all of our institutions.
Yeah, it's just I'm fully understand why there was no trust, just because nothing has been fixed, right? Our education system is failing. Our safety is failing as well. Homelessness problem hasn't been never been fixed. So yeah.
In what way, if any, have Oregon Republicans and the Oregon Republican Party contributed to our current crisis in public trust?
Well, first of most, we need to elect more Republicans to fix those kind of problems. We need to change the law in the place. We need to change. I mean, we need to, of course, like each county have jurisdictions as well. But in many different ways, we need to have more power in the House and the Senate to make those changes to make those problems solved. So that is my answer.
Just to make sure that the audience understands what you're saying, when you say that we, as in the Oregon Republicans, in response to a question about whether or not Oregon Republicans or the Oregon Republican Party has contributed to our crisis in public trust, your answer was that we need to change the law. Exactly what do you mean by that?
Well, any of the laws that are in the place has been dictated by Democrats elected officials, which is there's so much waste, even though like homelessness funding and then housing funding. There's a lot of waste right now, and we can definitely. I mean, look at what happened to Portland police, and like they're cutting a lot of the funding for the safety, which we're struggling with homeless problems and are still struggling with those mobs on the street. So there's a lot of laws. I mean, I'm not a lawyer or I'm not a senator or anything, but even though I don't know, I have less knowledge about the laws, I see there's a lot of ways that kind of dictates by Democrats elected, and the funding is not going to the place where it should be funded. So
So if I understand your answer correctly, it is that you're arguing that the policies need to be changed by getting more Republicans elected to office. So
yes.
my question to you is, do you believe that Oregon Republicans have had any role in contributing to the lack of public trust up to this point?
Yes, I mean that's one of the biggest reasons I've been spending a lot of time with the caucus, building those relationships and having those topics on the table and continue communicating with them. So then I'm a party representative, and my job is be a messenger that what we're facing as an Oregonian and what we're discovered as chairman. Uh, uh, by after talking to our colleagues, and the partnership with the caucus is going to be very critical, and that's one of the another way to we can fix those kind of problems altogether.
With accepting yourself, so you can't give the answer of yourself, which former Oregon Republican Party chair over the past 25 years was your favorite and why?
Oh man, I don't want to say none, but I think my favorite, there's a couple actually. Is it have to be just one person?
It can be as many people as you want.
Uh, this is like off the guard. Uh, I mean, well, John Lee was a chair before, right? I believe.
Uh, John Lee, I do not believe that John Lee was ever the
Or
Oregon Republican Party chair,
what
but
two?
I may be mistaken. You're the party chair, so you,
Yeah,
you should know better than I.
yeah. I mean, and then him if he was not chair, but I thought he was acting like chair. So, but he's my favorite, and so as um I think John would be my favorite. Just top one, yes.
Now, conversely, which former Oregon Republican Party chair over the past 25 years was your least favorite and why?
Oh God. I mean, it's not his favorite. It's not definitely not. But um, oh I think Herman.
Okay. So,
The
your immediate predecessor, who resigned and made you into chair, is your least favorite chair. Why?
I mean, I still I mean, I like him as friends, but he never he didn't give me any of notice, or he didn't tell me anything before he's resigning. He just happened out of the blue.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the final question I have for you on my section for Oregon culture and political history. I'll now hand the floor over to Chair Danny Johnson from Baker County to ask any follow-up questions that occur to him.
Thank you, Daniel. I think I just have one at this point, uh, Justin. Uh,
Yes.
going back to Nate Silverman's analogy of the far left and far right, uh, citizens of Oregon, what do you feel is the potential avenue or way uh, to build a line of communication between the parties that can focus on solutions that create many social and economic issues for Oregonians. And secondly, uh, does it appear to you that the strict ideology, maybe of either party, might be more to the point of creating this issue into the future and that without any solution?
Hmm. Okay, well, I think I gotta answer uh separately. So your first question is would you repeat that again, please?
In regard to the two or the parties, far left, far right, how do we begin to build communication? In other
Well,
words, uh, in other words, do we find things that we have in common and focus on that first, or are we going to
well,
just sit back and argue with one another indefinitely?
well, I think it just matters of like I've been saying this quite a few times already in this interview, but you're right. The communication, try to find a common ground to open the conversation on the table. I think that's the beginning. But one of the hardest thing we can do at this moment with um, far left to far right is we have no common ground. So I think that is first the key we had to find the common ground. But I honestly, I that's gonna be more difficult things to do at this moment. But there's lots of different organizations sharing common things with very far left or far right organizations too. So I think utilizing those nonprofit organizations, be in the mediator to find the common ground to open the conversation. I think that's the fastest way to do it.
Thank you. Daniel?
Thank you very much, Chair Johnson. Now I'd like to begin our third section of questions on the Oregon Republican Party going forward and your vision. What is the role of the Oregon Republican Party to you?
What is the role of the Oregon Party to me?
Yes.
Uh, it's almost like a baby who's about to walk.
Please explain.
Yes. I think ORP is still have a lot of potential to grow. We just have not. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of other people working hard and trying hard to make this organization better, and even did I. We're making progress. We're about to start walking forward. So if we have reached a lot of things and accomplished a lot of things, yes, there is no room to we can grow. But I see a lot of potential. As me being for the past 3 years as a chair, I saw it, and then we're just start walking. So that's what I compared to the baby about to start walking, but that's where we at.
Now that's where the Oregon Republican Party is at. My question is more directed to get an answer from you about why do we even have an Oregon Republican Party in your opinion?
Why?
Yeah. Why does Oregon need an Oregon Republican Party?
Uh, to share, not to share. Of course, we need to. I mean, my ultimate goal is just like putting more Republican legislatures in the Congress, I mean, in the state legislature, of course. But at the same time, I believe, I'm sure, you are a Republican, and Danny, so is Danny. There's quite a few different reasons why we are Republicans, because we believe our values and platforms and what is really a Republican is. And the Republican Party would be the organization share those kind of platforms, share those values, and educating our Oregonians to just to reach out to what the real American value is. So that's why we need an Oregon Republican Party needs to be in Oregon to share our values and the values of the American.
And I would just clarify that I am a soldier as well as a lawyer. And so when I have a job to do, that's the job that I focus on. So whether or not I am a Republican, as you have just noted, or not, is really not relevant to this program. And I hope that our viewers can see that very clearly in the hard time that I'm giving all of our guests and intend to continue giving to all our guests, Democrats, Republicans, and otherwise. So, with respect to the hard questions, let me follow up one. Please make the best argument you are capable of making about why Oregon needs a Democratic Party.
Why Oregon needs the Democrat Party?
Sure. Do you believe that Oregon needs a Democratic Party? And if so, why?
Yeah, I think they'll make a healthier. Because I believe in the competitions, which I think they'll help us not to be one-sided minded, and they might have a good idea. Who knows, right? So I think that having a Democrat Party in Oregon, I don't mind, and I believe there might be something we have common in the future that we can actually work together.
Oregon Democrats currently enjoy a political monopoly in Oregon. Why?
They can almost dictate anything with everything.
Well, that's the result of their political monopoly. My question to you is, why did they get one in the first place?
Well, it has been natural of the Oregon politics by managed by radical Democrat and a lot of agencies and organizations formed by those Democrat leadership. So I think that is why has been the Oregon has been manipulating, just because there are so many.
Okay, so your answer is that Oregon Democrats have obtained monopoly power because they're radical?
Yes.
So, in what way does the allegedly radical nature of the Oregon Democratic Party, why would Oregonians have awarded the Democrats monopoly power if Oregon Democrats are radical?
Well, maybe I put in the wrong words about it, but like I want to my point is there is swung by the radical Democrat leadership and have them given them a chance to form or organize in many different organizations or groups I mean, just for the example about the metro. I mean, I think Oregon is only few state or maybe only one state has a metro, which kind of dictates a lot of housing fundings and zonings, and maybe there's a couple more I can really think of it right now, but it is controlled by the Democrat, the metro is, right? So those kind of power grab is hurting Oregons. And that is why.
If I understand you correctly, you believe that the metro area of Oregon dominates Oregon politics. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Those Democrats in metro.
And our audience might have been a little bit confused by your answer when you said that Oregon is the only place that has a metro area. Did I understand you correctly in that regard?
No, the metro is the organization, is political organizations that handles getting funds from the state to handle zonings and housings and homelessness programs.
And in what way would you say that that's different than what the political reality is in Chicago or Los Angeles or San Francisco or New York City?
I mean, it's just wasting our funding, and we don't have to have those kind of agencies in the between the city or the county with the state, and there's a metro in the between, which is kind of dictate or getting orders by the Democratic Party. There's no much of our room to solve our own problems by cities or the counties.
I see. So if I understand you correctly, is that what you're saying is not Portland Metro specifically, but the governmental entity called the Metro government, which consolidates some responsibilities of governance from Clackamas County, Multnomah County, and Washington County into one multi-county governmental entity. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. In your opinion, did the 2016 and 2024 election cycles at the federal level represent realignment elections?
From 2016 to
2016
20.
and 2024, did the results at the federal level indicate that those were realignment elections?
I mean, of course, we had exciting moments too, but I think Oregon politics a little bit different, and some of the state is kind of swayed by the national results. But I feel like Oregon, just I mean, the CD5 we have flipped a couple years ago, which not happened since 1994, but we flipped it and we barely lost in like last year as well, even though we have a nationally a landslide for all these races and federally. So I think we have to play ourselves and not to sway by the federal politics at this moment.
Do you believe that the Republican coalition at the federal level has changed from before 2016 to after 2016? Do you believe that the Republican coalition has been changed by Mr. Trump?
Yes, yeah, I think it has been changed in a good way. I think it motivates a lot of voters to come out, and especially the voter turnout as well. And there was a lot of closet Republicans too. I mean, there's a lot of closet Republicans that just don't want to say they're Republicans, but by having President Trump motivating people, I think that kind of energized our voters. So I think that was one of the biggest changes I saw.
So, given the fact that you agree with the proposition that the Republican coalition has changed at the federal level, what implications does that national realignment of the Republican coalition have for Oregon Republicans?
It's almost the same thing. I think the excitement, right? The excitement we had, and then we've been waiting for more fighter styles of the leader, and I think President Trump has brought those motivation for us to get up again in the fight against Democrats. So I think that's the coalition and the energy we have got in national politics.
So, if Chair Hwang, if I understood you correctly, so you said my understanding of your answer was that voters are more excited because they're looking for somebody to fight. And my question for you is, are you aware of any Oregon Republican statewide candidates who have ever won in Oregon by being the more bombastic or the more combative candidate?
No, I can't think of anyone at this moment.
Thank you. We will now proceed forward to the final portion of our third subject area, which begins with the bylaws and the platform of the party that you aspire to continue to lead. As I noted to our audience, we wanted to make sure that all of our candidates had some level of familiarity beforehand, although we were confident that having served as the chair of the Oregon Republican Party, Chair Hwang, you were already familiar with the bylaws and the platform of the party. So now we're going to ask you some questions about them. So first of all, what do the Oregon Republican Party bylaws say the Oregon Republican Party chair's job is?
Well, define or in the what section?
So, what is your understanding of what the job of the Oregon Republican Party chair is under our bylaws?
Yeah, I can't really say in the exact words, but the duty of the chair is, my understanding is being a speaker of the body.
By whom is the chair elected?
Or is from the body that delegates from each counties.
And these delegates, and what is the delegates? You referred to the acronym before, but just for our audience, what is that body called that actually elects the officers of the Oregon Republican Party?
State Central.
The State Central Committee, indeed.
Yes.
So do they for the most part, do the members of the State Central Committee do they hire the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, the treasurer, the national committeeman, and the national committee woman?
Could you repeat the question again, please?
Sure. So the state central committee hires the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, the treasurer, the national committeeman, and the national committee woman. How are the members of the state central committee selected?
Voting.
Voting by whom?
Voting by state central committee.
Okay. So my question is, who hires the state? The state central committee selects the officers of the Oregon Republican Party.
Yes.
Who selects the state central committee?
Each county.
Okay. And specifically within each county, who actually votes for the county leadership that comprises the state central committee? Which persons do? The PCPs. And are those precinct committee persons?
Yes.
And these precinct committee persons, now for many of our viewers who were born after vote by mail went into effect, may not even know what a precinct is. And so that term, can you please help our viewers understand what that term precinct and precinct committee person stands for?
So basically, the precinct committee person is it is the members of that county within that precinct, which represents that precinct, and it makes a forms of the county Republicans, and then they have a voting right to former county chairs and their officers.
Now that we have universal vote by mail, my question for you is what did precincts used to be? And you're younger than Chair Johnson and I, so you might not have actually ever had the opportunity to go to a voting precinct. But are you familiar with how voting in Oregon used to be before universal vote by mail?
Yes, I mean I'm just a little bit younger than you guys, but yes, the vote by mails. That was I mean I only voted by mails. You know? I mean I usually voted by in person all the time.
Roger.
So,
and the question I have for you specifically is that the answer that I'm looking for is how voting used to happen before vote by mail, because that was when we used precincts, which were areas in the state where you would actually physically have to go your local place to vote. Okay.
Yeah, they have a ballot box. Yeah.
Okay. So now I'd like to ask you a few questions about the Oregon Republican Party platform. And specifically, the first question I'd like to ask is, why does the Oregon Republican Party even have a platform?
From my understanding, having a platform every 4 years. I just did my first platform conventions last year. And it is like we need those kind of platform conventions just because we have a lot of different people with a lot of different political ideology, and with the caucus members as well. But it is the place where we can all sit together and have one-minded, being unity of what Republican values should be. So that's why we have those kind of platform conventions.
At 18 single-space pages and 6,335 words, do you believe that the Oregon Republican Party platform should be shortened, lengthened, or left the same?
It is. Well, every our platforms by section it's written by the person who is in charge. So, and with agreements with a lot of different legislature in that room. So I believe they did the best to like shorten or make it longer if there's enough explanations or not. So I don't have any problems with the current platforms. And it might get shorter next time. It might get a little longer next time. So I don't have any problems.
Okay. Section 11 of the Oregon Republican Party platform is titled Individual Liberty and Limited Government. And section 11.3 states, quote, "We advocate limiting the scope and jurisdiction of the federal and state government, addressing abuses in commerce and the general welfare clauses," close quote. However, section 9, healthcare, contains section 9.4, which states, quote, "We are pro-life, therefore we support the sanctity of life from conception to natural death and are opposed to abortion and physician-assisted suicide. We promote pursuing full disclosure of all known risks and complications of abortion, surgically and chemically, and the organ harvesting and eugenic practices of the abortion industry," close quote. Do you see any tension between those two sections?
I probably have to revisit your question, but from now my understanding, I think they did the best with the best quotes.
So. Okay, so my specific question is, On the one hand, there is a provision in the Oregon Republican Party bylaws that says that we believe in limited government. On the
Yes.
other hand, there's a provision in the Oregon Republican Party which unambiguously appears to oppose abortion generally. Do you believe that there's any tension between those two provisions?
I don't think there's any connections between those two.
In 2018, Oregonians voted on Measure 106 concerning public funding of abortion. By 2-1, Oregonians rejected Section 9.4 of the Oregon Republican Party platform. Do political parties that embrace unpopular policies tend to do well electorally?
Are you talking about the 106, the public funded abortions?
Well, I'm talking about given the fact that the last measure that we made in Oregon of whether abortion should be legal or not legal, it was found the voters voted 2-1 to reject the Oregon Republican Party's platform on abortion. My question for you is, do parties which adopt unpopular policies tend to do well electorally?
I have not looked at the numbers about that. Honestly, I need to see. I mean, I was not involved in the 2016 over that kind of issues, but I do really familiar with 106. But I have to revisit your questions later.
Okay. Numerous Republican statewide candidates since 1990 have been anti-abortion, that is, pro-choice. Like Monica Webby in 2008, Newt Bueller in 2014, 2018, and 2020, and U.S. Representative Lori Chavez-DeRemer in 2022 and 2024. Are pro-choice Republicans welcome in the Oregon Republican Party?
Well, I personally believe that all the Republican candidate has to have a base and then stick with their belief, and which in the future, if there's any candidates that supports abortions, and they should not be supporting abortions, and that is our core value, and one of our values is life. So,
given the electoral mathematics, does the Oregon Republican Party's position on abortion make political sense to you?
yes.
Some derivation of the word transparency appears 5 times in the Oregon Republican Party platform, including the following statement in Section 15, Government Integrity. Quote, "The Oregon Republican Party believes in limited, responsible, and transparent government at all levels is essential." Close quote. In light of the priority which the Oregon Republican Party platform prioritizes transparency, would you support broadcasting Oregon Republican Party meetings as chair if you are reelected?
Broadcasting about our state central meetings or like
any meetings? Would you support broadcasting any of them to the general public?
Well, it just depends. I mean, I would love to have to broadcast some of the meetings that is not very informationally sensitive to market our value. But but if there's any sensitive issues that we're dealing with, definitely not.
Oregon Republicans have leaned pretty heavily into allegations of electoral fraud to explain going 1-33 in statewide elections from 1990 to 2020, and then the Republicans have gone over since 2020. Section 2 of the Oregon Republican Party platform is on, quote, election integrity, close quote, and it has 17 subsections. In your own words, why is election integrity so important to Oregon Republicans?
I think we talk about this like earlier on. I think it's related to the trust government, right? And election integrity is very very core committees that we have and nationalities as well. It just matters of we have to transparency with everything, and there is a lot of voting fraud as well that we have not known. But the rules of the election committee is going to be help us regain those kind of trust.
Section 2.1 of the Oregon Republican Party platform begins with, quote, "We support the elimination of mail-in voting and computerized tabulation of votes," close quote. Given the fact that vote by mail was voted in by Oregon voters via ballot measure 60 in 1998 by a margin of 69.4% to 30.6%, what is your plan to repeal it?
But it has to be start with petitions to gain those tractions. And I think that's the first step we have to do, and all the county has to be getting involved to move those kind of matters move forward and submit it to the state body.
Okay, so your plan to repeal vote by mail is to have county government. How is county government going to override a vote of the Oregon people?
No, I'm saying I was trying to say the county Republicans and of course the state Republicans as well. We're involved with those start the petitions to bring the awareness and have and this is almost like campaigning. I think that's the beginning.
Is it possible that unpopular policies might have played a role in Oregon Republicans' 40-year losing streak?
No.
Is it possible that shouting voter fraud as a catch-all explanation for Oregon Republican Party statewide underperformance might actually be contributing to Oregon Republican Party electoral underperformance?
I believe so.
You believe that it is a mistake to yell voter fraud as a catch-all explanation for Oregon Republican Party underperformance?
No, all the way around it. So basically, I'm saying having those voter fraud issues. Just talking about this, I think it will motivate our voters.
Okay, so you believe that using voter fraud as a catch-all explanation for Republican
Yes.
Party underperformance is not contributing to
It is contributing.
Okay, so help our viewers understand. My question is this: is it possible that Oregon Republicans who shout voter fraud as a catch-all explanation for Oregon Republican Party electoral underperformance might actually be inadvertently contributing to the actual electoral underperformance that they are complaining about?
Yes, it is contributing our cause. Yes.
What risk, if any, do you see if Oregon Republicans claim that 40% to 45% of Oregonians are being denied their civil right to choose the electoral candidates of their choice? And allegedly, according to many Oregon Republicans, it's actually the electoral results are being altered by electoral fraud. Do you believe that there's any danger in telling voters that their votes aren't being counted?
I don't know if I'm understanding your question right, but I don't think there's any danger by telling them what is going on with the voter fraud.
Sure, but as far as this program is aware, the allegations that Oregon Republicans have made of systematic election-altering voter fraud in Oregon elections have yet to be proven in either a state or federal court of law. So my question is there a possible public danger in telling voters that their votes, that the electoral outcomes are being altered by some sort of shadowy conspiracy? Are you concerned that there is any potential danger to peace and stability in our society by Oregon Republican leaders who make these allegations?
I mean, there was always a danger about every time we make any of the allegations, but we take those risks to fight against it. So
after the 2020 election, the Oregon Republican Party passed a resolution denouncing the January 6th incident as a, quote, false flag operation, close quote. Were you part of the Oregon Republican Party leadership at that time?
Yes.
Well, you were not elected until 2021 to vice chair, correct?
Yes.
So
I mean, no, I became a vice chair end of 2020. Hold on.
Okay, was it after the primary? Were you selected as vice chair after the May 2021 Oregon Republican Party primary?
Yeah, 2022, yes, yeah.
Okay. So as far as I understand, you were a candidate for legislative office back in the 2020 election cycle, correct?
2020, yes.
So did you have anything to do with the passage of that resolution denouncing the January 6th incident as a, quote, false flag operation, close quote?
It wasn't part of that.
Okay. Do you agree or disagree with the resolution passed?
I do agree.
President Trump recently issued pardons via his executive authority and commutations to several Oregonians who were involved in the January 6th incident, including 2 citizens of Danny Johnson's own Baker County. And then the 9th person that was given relief was formerly of Portland, no longer lives in Oregon. Given that the Oregon Republican Party, and particularly the Oregon Republican Party chair, doesn't have a lot to say in who gets or doesn't get pardons, I'd like to ask you, as a candidate for Oregon Republican Party chair, do you agree or disagree with the president's pardons?
I do strongly agree.
Mr. Trump seems to be about as popular in Oregon as Mr. Biden was popular in Idaho. Does Mr. Trump's approach to governance resonate in Oregon?
In just not in Portland metro area.
So yes and no. So in Portland, it doesn't resonate, but outside of the metro area, it does.
Yes.
For those Oregonians for whom Mr. Trump's governing style does not resonate, what can you as Oregon Republican, what can any Oregon Republican Party chair do about that? And what do you intend to do about that if you are reelected as Oregon Republican Party chair?
Well, first of all, I'm following our ORP platform. That's the beginning. And our president might have a different plans for Oregon and federally and by each state. And my job is take those messages or the plans back to ORP and talk about things that what is going on and can we implement those kind of plans in Oregon, because every state is different.
When your political party wins at the federal level, it is customary that some state level talent is steered toward political jobs in the victorious administration. Given the fact that there are about 4,000 positions that the president appoints, and Oregon is 1.15% of the national population, that would normally mean about 43 appointed positions go to Oregonians. What measures have you taken to place as many Oregonians in positions at the federal level when your party is elected as the chief executive?
Would you repeat that question again? Sorry,
Sure. So the question is, what role, if any, do you see that's Oregon Republican Party chair or the Oregon Democratic Party chair in steering Oregonians into positions of appointed positions at the federal level?
I think there's two appointing positions that we might seriously need it represent Oregon, which is SBA and the Housing Committee.
And that's the Small Business Administration?
Yes.
Okay. So there are 4 positions that are actually resident in Oregon that have always been filled, no matter what administration, by Oregonians. The U.S. Attorney, the U.S. Marshal for Oregon, and then there is a member of the Department of Agriculture that is based in Oregon, and I believe a member of the Small Business Administration. But there are obviously Oregonians have served at higher positions, and in this election cycle, the former U.S. Representative Lori Chavez Dreamer has been selected by the president to serve as the Secretary of Labor. What role, if any, do you believe that the Oregon Republican Party chair has in expediting and facilitating placing as many Oregonians into federal positions as possible?
Of course, we have a lot of work to do. I mean, I'm glad that Lori Chavez Dreamer nominated by President Trump to be our next labor secretary. Of course, she's waiting for the hearing for the confirmation for the next week. But I don't see any problems she's getting it. But at the same time, that kind of shows the people that we are we're visible with for the national politics right now. So I think we made the first step. I see more opportunities coming up for our Oregonians to getting those kind of appointments. So we just gotta keep it moving to be visible.
Okay. Many observers note that Oregonians have a significant talent deficit, particularly Oregon Republicans. And this is why so few Oregonians are invited in to serve in Republican administrations, although relatively few Oregonians are selected to serve in Democratic administrations as well. The question is, many Oregonians believe that Oregon Republicans have a significant talent deficit. And that's why so few Oregonians are invited to serve in Republican administrations. Although, in fairness, relatively few Oregonians are selected for Democratic political administrations when the Democratic candidate wins. What is your plan to develop Republican talent in Oregon and get Oregonians appointed to federal positions?
Of course, we need to start building our bench members by educating them politically, and we start from younger generation. I told you earlier, it's about how we educate those MG Gen, and in the right way to get ready to be part of the Republican elected. So education comes more first by expanding those training programs that we have in place.
That concludes all the questions that I have for Section 3, the Oregon Republican Party going forward. So now I'd like to turn the floor over to Baker County Republican Party Chair Danny Johnson. Chair Johnson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Daniel. Justin, in regard to the ORP and county central committees, what can we do from the county level to assist the ORP in becoming a more thorough organization? And what can the ORP do to assist the counties in a unification process?
I think my first plan, and of course I need to talk to all of the county chairs to do this when I become a new chair. My plan was just having not to be one individual county. I want those county chair to have a communication with two other neighbor counties, or two or three, or it depends how far they're over. But I think we need to regroup those counties all together. Maybe we can divide it by 6 different groups, and 6, which is a combine of 2 or 3 more counties all together, have those kind of conversations to do the joint event, joint fundraising, and joint calls even. So I think there's a lot of disconnections. I know you've been talking to a lot of different county chairs, but there's some of the new county chairs might not be aware of how important it is communicating with their neighbor chairs. So by doing a lot of joint events, it's going to help the county levels and state level as well. And of course, the state party will be advocate, and of course give us a lot of support, not just having a county to be doing their own events with their own expenses, but I think there should be more partnership events. So then each county has awareness of the ORP. At the same time, we can help the county Republicans to be grown.
Thank you. Daniel?
Chair Johnson, that concludes all the 3 sections that we prepared. So first of all, I can notice behind you, Chair Danny Johnson, it looks like, I believe that's the Eagle Cap Mountains, picture of the Eagle Cap Mountains behind you. And
Yes.
There's 8 inches of snow there and halfway right now. So you're on the south side of Wallowa County. So we thank you very much for dialing in from the northeast corner of the state. Oregon Republican Party Chair Justin Hwang, we thank you very much for joining us today. We understand that there's also inclement weather in Portland, and that's caused you to need to appear on our program from what appears to be your car. And we very much appreciate the fact that you went above and beyond the call of duty to make sure that you were able to appear on our scheduled taping date. So we thank you very much. The last group of people that I'm going to thank is all of our audience and our viewers for all of these episodes. But before I do that, Oregon Republican Party Chair Justin Hwang, I want to give you the next to last word to make your closing statement to all of our viewers, including all the members of the Oregon Republican Party State Central Committee, who will probably be looking at each of these videos as they go about their due diligence. Chair Hwang, the floor is yours for your closing statement.
Well, thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Danny, for your invitation and having me in your on your show today. And like to say, we are I like to apologize publicly if there's a lot of people has concern about my absentees. And then of course, um, not able to give a lot of updates of what was going on. But like I was saying during the interview, I have not I'm not regretting what I have done for the past 2 years or 3 years or more. So, but I really appreciate everyone who's been working tirelessly in the behind the scene, trying to elect more Republicans, which we elect our President Trump once again. And there's a lot of good changes coming. Feel it, but at the same time, the upcoming midterm is going to be very hard. Historically, when our presidents in the house, in the White House, our midterm gets really hard. So, but let's get to work. Whoever the chair is going to be in next week or week after, I'm sure we are all here with a good heart. And I'll see you guys next Friday. And thank you so much for having me here today. And stay warm and stay away from the snow.
Justin Hwang, Chair Danny Johnson from Baker County, and most importantly to all of our viewers, without you, our program has no point whatsoever. So we thank each and every one of you for dialing in today and watching on whatever channel we all have access to these days. This is Town Hall 2025, Series 1, The Race for Oregon Republican Party Chair. I'm your host, Daniel Crow. Until next time, let's keep talking, Oregon. We here at Town Hall 2025 wonder if maybe Oregon doesn't need more politics, but clearer politics. And maybe, just like teenagers, our politicians could benefit from clearer boundaries that you set. To support your responsibility for self-government, we are working to revive an Oregon where once we were able to disagree without being disagreeable. In the coming months, we hope to bring you, in their own words, leaders from all of our political parties. Thank you for joining us on Series 1, The Race for Oregon Republican Party Chair 2025. Next up will be Series 2, The Race for Democratic Party Chair 2025. I'm Daniel Crow, and this is Town Hall 2025. Until next time, let's keep talking.